Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Tecumseh head football coach Greg Dolson, also a principal at Tecumseh High School. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on and giving me an opportunity to talk about Tecumseh football.
All right, so I can't even start with before we start talking about this year. What was it like to be a part of that team last year, and just to bring, just to see the entire community come together and just see what you guys did?
Yeah, just you talking about it, like the hairs on the back of my neck stand up and I get goosebumps and chills thinking about it. I don't think the thing really hit us as to what was going on until probably after the season it was over. We were around a group of kids that just only cared about winning, and so that's all the focus was. So I tell this story a lot to people, and they think I'm crazy when I say it, but we'd get on the bus after a win. Kids would sit down and it's like it was no big deal. They did what they were supposed to do when they got there. They won the game, they get back on the bus and they go home and they just go to their next thing, and just the type of focus they had. It was a very confident group, very focused group, very tight group, and they only cared about winning, and that was the best part about being around that group is that when you got off the bus with them on Friday night, it was all business. And then when the season was over, we started looking back and looking at records, seeing what Jake did at quarterback, what AJ did at the running back spot, and then Gavin set the school record for most interceptions in a season, and he only played corner for really 5 games. So it was just a really talented group of kids whose sole purpose was about winning. And so we're still on kind of that high. We still talk about that as a staff quite a bit about just how special that group of kids was. But now the challenge has been trying to refocus the 24 group, and getting them to understand that they have their own legacy to leave now. And we haven't asked them to go fill the 23 kids' shoes because that's impossible to do. We just ask them to be the best versions of themselves and how they want to leave an impact on the town. But in terms of the community, it was, I mean, just looking up in the stands every Friday night. The one picture that really stands out to me was when we were at Riverview. Somebody was able to snap a picture from the press box and looking at our sideline, and it was, from the 20 to the 20. Every seat was packed. The whole town was there. And I just thought that was such a special moment for the kids, because it just really showed the level of respect the community had for what those kids were doing. And that was a really great moment. Obviously, the game, we would have liked it to turn out better, but just the community sport, the Chelsea game, our stands were crowded. Anywhere we went and traveled, our town and community showed up. We had a group of seniors in the high school that always organized the fan bus, and 2 buses loads of students would go out every Friday, and they would be encouraging the student body on Friday morning and announcements to show up to the game. So it was just a really great way to start the season off and the school year off. And then I think that kind of just carried on throughout the season, into wrestling and basketball and baseball and softball. That support that the community had for athletics, and it was just cool that we were just a part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so now the focus turns to this year, and let's talk about some of the guys that were on that team last year that will be returning this year. I know you do have to replace a lot of guys, but talk about some of the guys that are going to be coming back and some of the guys to watch out for.
Yeah, obviously AJ coming back is huge for us, and people are probably going like, AJ still playing. He during the COVID year, we were able to bring him up as a freshman and get him some opportunities to play. And then he was an all-league player as a sophomore, all-league player last year as a AP All-State, all kinds of different awards. So he comes back. And he's probably one of the most dynamic players, and obviously in the SEC, but if not Southeast Michigan in general. Um, I'm really excited about our offensive line they're coming back. We have a lot of kids that have played multiple years up front, led by Max Bledsoe, who's a 3-year starter at center. He's been an all league player since he was a sophomore, so he comes back and anchors that line. Ashton Platt comes back as a senior who started last year quite a bit. And then we have some really young kids that we're really excited about that have been doing great things in the weight room. One specifically, I think people are going to be very excited about is a young man named Brian McCutcheon, who is probably right now the strongest kid in our program. And had an excellent sophomore season in track, throwing the shot and the put. Very explosive kid, very strong kid. Then we have a couple other younger kids right now that are fighting it out for the right tackle, right guard spot, in Soren Ward and Landon Warner. Both big, strong kids. They're younger, but they have had opportunities to play last year. So I like our line a lot. I like what AJ can do. I like what the offensive line can do. You know, losing Jake, no one's ever going to be Jake Burns in this community again.
No.
And we don't want them to be that. We want them to be their own kid. And so right now, there's a young man, a junior coming in, Ben Abbott, another junior with Tyler Clement, and a sophomore, Rocco Williams. We're kind of figuring out, what each of them can do. And they all might play at different times. They all have a different skill set that they bring to the table. But what's unique about all three of them is if they're not playing quarterback, they will be on the field somewhere else, either in a safety spot or a wide receiver spot, or Rocco can play running back or a slot. So there's three kids right there that are really dynamic, that have some athletic ability that are going to try to replace Jake. Brian Baddock comes back at the receiver spot last year. Started to see some really big plays out of him at the end of the year once he started to figure out his role. Another kid that I think really got lost in the shuffle last year, and we didn't do a good enough job with him at getting him reps at the lower level, but is a big, strong, fast kid. Ryan Mossberg, who everybody saw excel last year in the basketball season, playing some big minutes for that team as a sophomore. I think it's going to come in and really solidify a wide receiver position for us and be very dynamic at it. And then Diego Juarez fills in the other receiver spot. Could be a coach, smartest kid on our team, knows all the positions. He's got very good athleticism, and he's smart when he plays football and knows how not to take a hit, but he's also a great route runner. In our scheme, our receivers, when they're running routes, have to read the coverage on the run. And Diego does that very well and knows how to set himself up into a hole to make a catch. So offensively, I really like where we're at. Obviously, we lose Ryder, we lose Joe, we lose Gavin, Jake, all those big name guys. But we also have some kids, because of how we've operated internally with getting kids reps at a very young age, has some kids that are ready to come in and step in. So that's the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, we got to replace everybody. It was a very senior group, very senior heavy group. But we have, Ryan Berry comes back, who played well as a junior last year, led our team in tackles. And then Tyler Clement's going to be back there at safety somewhere, and I'm really excited about him. He had a really good summer in 7-on-7s. He's a ball hawk. He's always around the ball. He's fearless when he gets in the box. So we're excited about him. And then Max Stanley comes back at corner, and he had a really good summer this year too. So there's some holes we got to fill defensively, especially up front. We lose all of our guys were seniors, so that part we got to work out. But it's not a group. We graduated 22 seniors, and probably the best senior class we've had since '91. Although 2017 team was really good too with their senior group. But we do have some kids that are going to be able to come in and play.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So I know that there's also, a lot of things to go through. Let's talk about the schedule for a minute here. As I'm pulling it up, it is of course you play, the SEC. I believe it is the white, if I am
Correct.
not mistaken. Okay.
Yep.
I'm still trying to, all these colors and all these divisions are, yeah, but as I pull it up right now, it's a pretty good schedule. A lot of teams, yep, and it starts all on Friday at Jackson Northwest. I'll just run through the schedule really quick. August 31st, you'll be home against Whitehall. September 8th, home against Jackson. September 15th at Adrian. September 22nd, home against Pinckney. September 29th, home against Chelsea. October 6th at Ypsi Community. October 13th, home against Kalamazoo Norix, and then finishing out the season October 20th at Bay City John Glenn. So a pretty good schedule. I know four non-conference opponents, and then in the middle is all your SEC white opponents. But talk about what the schedule is going to be like for you guys.
Yeah, last year we went with Michigan Center, and that was a situation to where they reached out to us, coming off a good season and wanted to kind of play up based on the playoff points and things. After our game last year, we were able to come to a consensus that maybe it's not a good fit for either school. Not a good fit for them size wise. Great kids, great coaches. We really enjoyed that game with them, but just the size, we were bigger than them in terms of numbers. It's not a good fit for them, and it wasn't that they were afraid to play us or anything like that. It just didn't work out for them numbers wise, and so we were able to find a different opponent with Michigan Center, which works out well for us because they're a Division III team. And so we really kind of focused after what happened to us last year. We were the number one seed in the region all the way through week 9. And then Riverview played Monroe and beat Monroe and accumulated all those points and jumped us and became the number 1. And we became the number 2. So that was a big lesson for me to okay, we get the wins, and we can schedule teams that we think it's going to be competitive or winnable game for us. But that also hurts us in the playoff points. And so all those teams that we're playing this year are our size or bigger than us in division points. And I think that's going to help us in the long run, so that we don't get into a situation that we were last year where we're 9-0. Then we go 10-0, and then we have to go on the road and play another 10-0 team in the district final. We weren't really happy about that. It is what it is, but we made it a conscious effort to schedule up. So I don't know a whole lot about Jackson Northwest. I have some film from them last year. I've heard they have a new offensive coordinator, so I'm not really sure. We'll find out, when we get their scrimmage film, what it's all about. But the first 2 games for us are going to be pretty big tests. We're playing a Division III team, and then we're playing Whitehall, who was a regional semifinal qualifier on Division IV, and they're loaded. So I wanted to schedule an opportunity early in the season for us to experience what playoff football could be like, so that our kids could get a taste of it, and start to think a little bit down the road about what it's going to be like if we have to play in a game and in an environment like that. So Whitehall is a fantastic program, loaded with kids, great coaches. That's certainly going to be a challenge. Then we come off that game, we see Jackson right away too. So it's not a schedule that we can walk into and try to ease our way into it. We got to be ready from the jump. But I like that because I want to catch everybody's attention right away, and get 2023 behind us, and get going on 2024 right away.
Even though it is still currently the 2023 season, even though 2024 graduating class. So
yeah, right.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I just look at how they graduate, so that's what I'm talking about.
That's okay. All right. I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to confuse anyone that's watching.
Yep.
This. So okay. So this week is. I know a lot of coaches like to treat this week differently than a lot of others, but just kind of talk about how you've kind of approached this week.
Yeah, the thing that I have learned over time as a coach and a head coach is you need to respect people's time. And so, we ask the kids for the commitment in June and the commitment in July. And then we give them as much time off as we possibly can because they're still kids and they have a lot of commitments. When I got out to Tecumseh, I was kind of amazed with the amount of travel commitments that kids have in this community and in all communities.
Right.
So I used to schedule a lot of the stuff in that we did in the evening, but then I'd have kids walking out of practice to go to travel this or travel that. So we went early in the morning. So we go, early in the morning, we get them in, we get our stuff done. We lift 3 days a week, with a break there in the middle. And then I try to give everybody a 3-day weekend, or we do give everybody a 3-day weekend. We're completely shut down for July, and then I shut it down for August, just because I want kids to be kids. I want families to be able to vacation with each other. I need that time with my family. Coaches need their time with their family, because once we get August 7th this year, we're going, and you don't have a lot of time to be with the people that you want to be with, because you got this commitment going, and the kids are there too. So we don't do a whole lot, and that's something I've learned over time is let people be off. Let them enjoy themselves as kids. I know a lot of families that we have right now are gone. They're on vacation, and we live in an area where there's so many lakes and things around us that
Yeah.
people like to go and enjoy that. And I would encourage them to do that. That's what I did. I had an opportunity to get up north with my family, and went golfing with Mr. Zajac and Ryder. And it was a nice opportunity to kind of decompress and put my cell phone away. And that's what I encourage our families and kids to do. I tell them, don't do any football. Don't answer any text message. Just go and be a kid. Then I'll see you back. We have a meeting Sunday night. We always bring the kids in the night before practice. We have a quick team meeting. We check all the paperwork, make sure everything's done. We hand out gear, so that when we come in on Monday, we just go to practice. And then we put our kids on a normal schedule as soon as we come in on Mondays, so that they're used to what it would be like being in school.
Absolutely. All right. What do you want? And really, just these first 2 weeks, getting practiced on Monday. What do you really want to see out of your guys heading into that first game?
Just adjusting to the practice schedule and the requirements that we're looking for. We practice, with the addition of Al Romano and Nate Behringer and a couple other guys. Our practices are very similar to how a college practices. So we're moving all the time. As soon as the horn hits at 4:30, we're not stopping until 6:30. Water breaks are built in where kids, if they're not in a drill or something, they just go get water. We don't stop 5 minutes and break. We just go. And we're trying to get kids acclimated to the way that we're going to play on Friday nights. And so that's really what it's about for us. We spend a lot of time first week or so, a lot of indie periods, a lot of group periods. We don't spend a lot of time in team, maybe a 10-minute session or something like that. And then we watch film the next day. So we record everything. Everything that we do gets recorded. Then we watch it the next day. We try to fix it in a meeting, and then we go back on the practice field. So, just for me, it's about getting kids comfortable about practicing and what the expectations are. We spend a lot of time in the summer making sure that a lot of our stuff is already integrated. So the kids, come in and people think, oh gosh, with Al Romano, you're so complicated offensively. And we're really not. Our schemes are very simple. They're not very dynamic, and that's not to say that Al couldn't do that, but we prefer to play with pace. And so we're going to scale the playbook back, and we're going to do the things that the defense gives us. And if the defense gives us a certain look, we're just going to keep running the plays that defense gives us. And so that's the beauty of working with Al, is he doesn't have an ego in the sense of, well, I want to make this play work. His philosophy is, if they're giving me this, I'm taking that until they stop it. And most offensive coordinators don't have the discipline to stay with that, but if you go back to the Chelsea game, people are like, God, you guys threw bubble this many times. And it wasn't because we were trying to prove anything. It was just, that was the look they gave us. And so that was the play that was available to us. And so our kids just got to understand that. And that's how we practice. We don't get super complicated. We try to keep things as simple as possible, but we just play with pace as fast as we can.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Greg Dolson, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Best of luck to the Indians this coming season.
Appreciate it, Casey. Take care, man.